It's never been easier to hire the wrong attorney, which I love, by the way. In an era where every billboard and seemingly every TV ad looks the same, the consumer can often be very overwhelmed. So, why do so many people end up with the wrong attorney, the wrong lawyer? And how often does that really actually happen, David?
I think it happens all the time. I mean, I think that unfortunately it's hard to cut through the clutter, and the average citizen, the average person may never have needed a lawyer before. So it may be a family law or a divorce or a criminal matter or a personal injury or a truck accident law.
Welcome back to The Search Bar, the podcast for law firm leaders who want smarter growth without the guesswork. Wine optional. I'm Eric Ritter, the SEO sommelier and founder of Digital Neighbor. With more than 12 years of experience helping law firms scale, I'm here to have insightful conversations with industry subject matter experts so you can learn from them. And if you're ready to dominate in today's AI-driven search environment, check out my Motion for Marketing Success System. It starts with a free discovery session, no fluff, just a clear path forward. The link's going to be in the show notes there. I'm really excited for today's episode because we're talking to someone who's going to help us tackle a major issue in the personal injury world, the gap between high volume marketing and high level legal expertise. We're talking about why consumer education is the ultimate trust builder and how one firm built a regional powerhouse by putting the victim's needs and their questions first. To help us navigate this, I'm joined by the amazing David W. Craig. David is a nationally recognized truck record attorney and the managing partner of Craig, Kelley Faultless LLC. He is board certified in truck accident law, a prolific author, and the host of the After the Crash podcast. David, welcome to Search Bar. Super excited to have you here today.
Thanks, Eric. I look forward to talking with you.
Awesome. Now, David, as the SEO sommelier, I usually pick a wine, but I did my research here and I know you prefer a good bourbon. So, in honor of your career, we're pouring a top shelf small batch bourbon. Much like truck accident law, it's bold, it's complex, and requires a specific kind of craftsmanship to get it right. It's not for everyone, but for those who need the best, there's no substitute.
Appreciate you making an exception.
Yeah, no, of course, exceptions are what define the rule, right? So I always like to have a little bit of fun there. So looking forward to that bourbon here to match with the podcast. So I want to get into it here. So you wrote a book with a very provocative title, if I may say so. It's never been easier to hire the wrong attorney, which I love, by the way. In an era where every billboard and seemingly every TV ad looks the same, the consumer can often be very overwhelmed. So, with that claim in mind, why do so many people end up with the wrong attorney, the wrong lawyer? And how often does that really actually happen, David?
I think it happens all the time. I mean, I think that unfortunately it's hard to cut through the clutter, and the average citizen, the average person may never have needed a lawyer before. So it may be a family law or a divorce or a criminal matter or a personal injury or a truck accident law or a mass tort. I mean, it could be the first time they've ever felt the need for a lawyer and they have no idea where to turn. And so, I think that they tend to look at billboards, they tend to look at commercials, they tend to listen to radio, and now they look at Google, and they do searches, and so unfortunately, that doesn't always lead you to the right attorney. It could, but more often than not, it may lead you to the wrong attorney, and that's why I wrote the book.
I love that. And in your experience, what are those red flags maybe that consumers should watch out for and pay attention to when they're choosing legal representation?
The first and the thing that as a lawyer and somebody in the profession like yourself, we know that personal solicitations are improper. And there's a good reason for that, because we know that, when people are vulnerable, you don't want somebody leaning on them, coercing them, or persuading them to do something that they shouldn't do. And so we have rules, and the ABA and every state follows, and but if you're not a lawyer and you don't deal with this industry, You may not know that. And every catastrophic case that I've had in the last several years, each one of those victims were personally solicited. And that's sad. I mean, it really is sad because if the lawyer you're looking to select is unethical and willing to break the rules in the very beginning, then that's a really bad sign. And they may sell you out down the road. But yet, if you don't know that and you're laying in the hospital and somebody comes in and delivers a police report and says, I know you're going to need this. And I'm so sorry. By the way, look on the back, there's a card of a lawyer. They don't know that that's wrong. They may sense it, but some people may not even sense it. They may just think, oh my gosh, they're being really helpful. So I think that is a huge red flag. And then the other thing is misleading. All too often, marketing is, people are trying to get cases. And so there are stuff that's out there that's misleading. And for example, if you put in who's the best personal injury lawyer in this city, in Tampa, where you're down in your neck of the woods, or in Indianapolis, in my neck of the woods, there may be ads that pop up that look like they're lawyer ads, but they may be lead generation companies. They may not be lawyers. They may not
Right.
be able to give you any legal advice whatsoever. However, that you look at it and the average person doesn't know that. And so they think they're going to a lawyer when in fact they're going to somebody who's going to sell that lead to someone else. So I think those are two huge red flags that I think people just don't even have a clue about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, right? As a marketer, I think kind of building authenticity, building trust is so important. And I have immense respect for someone like yourself, David, who's actually board certified in truck accident law. I know that's not an easy feat. And kind of keeping that in mind, with that, let's say that aggressive digital marketing, right, from lead generation companies that are just reselling those leads somewhere else, it's really hard for those specialized lawyers that specialize maybe in trial law or truck accident law, such as yourself, to stand out from the generalist firms, right, that are just kind of taking whatever cases are there. Um, and how's that something that you've encountered?
Yeah, I mean, I think the starting point is you want a good lawyer. You want one of the best attorneys you can get. And the great thing about board certification is that it screens you as someone else's screening is a screening process that's approved by the ABA. And so you've got some people you can't buy your way in. You have to qualify. And so I think that's a great starting point. There was over 164,000 personal injury lawyers. There's less than 100 board certified truck accident attorneys. So the question is, how do you get seen through the clutter? Because there's 164,000, probably close to, out there marketing in a variety of different ways. And so I think that a lot of times, really good trial lawyers are really good at practicing law and delivering quality services to their clients, but they may not be the best marketers. And some of the best marketers may not be the greatest trial lawyers. And so I think that's one of the things and one of the challenges is cutting through that. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. And if you're board certified, you would not want to, when you graduate from law school, you get a certificate, a license to practice law. I could write wills for you. I could do a divorce for you. You wouldn't want that. You would not want me doing those things. However, you might want me to handle your truck wreck. And so I think people need to be educated and realize that there is a distinction, there's a difference, and difference matters, especially the more significant it is. If it's a child custody battle, it's a divorce over major assets, you don't want to just pick any attorney. You want to pick the best you can. If criminal, it's the first time you've been in a criminal matter, don't just pick a lawyer. Pick somebody who can adequately represent you.
I love that. And like you said, education is so important. That's something that I think is really cool about you and your firm is you guys don't just market, you educate, right? From the books to this semi-crash map to your podcast, you're really providing tools to help people before they even think about signing with an attorney there. So just curious, was there a particular case or maybe even a moment that made you realize people need a book such as the Semi-Truck Wreck, The Guide for Victims and Their Families?
Yeah, I mean, I saw people picking the wrong attorneys, and I saw what was happening. I would get asked, my friends would be talking about a divorce, somebody they knew, and I would ask who the attorney was, and I'd be going, oh, That's not good. And so I would personally see it. If somebody called me, I could tell them who to pick for estate planning, divorce, criminal, personal injury, truck accidents, mass torts. And so I've been doing this for 40 years. And so I saw some high profile cases in my world where people picked the wrong truck accident attorney and had really horrible results and called after the fact. And there was nothing I could do at that point. And so I looked at it and I thought, well, it's beyond just truck accident attorneys. It really is for everybody. And so let's make sure that people feel empowered to ask the right questions, go into the meetings knowing what they need to know. And I love educating, and that's something that we've always done. And I find that it fits my personality. I like to teach. I like to help. I like to make a positive difference in the lives of others. And so whether I get a case out of it or not is not what I'm hoping to get a case, but that's not why I write all the books and why I put out the videos and why I do a podcast. It's more important to help the people. And then ultimately, it has been a very positive marketing tool.
Yeah, and it works, right? Because that's what builds credibility, it builds authority, just all around really positions you as a subject matter, expert in the eyes of the search engines, the answer engines, AI out there. Especially when it comes to tools like that. I'm really fascinated by the semi crash map, right? That really builds authority in a way that other things really couldn't on the website, and I'm just curious kind of maybe a little bit of the story behind something, unique like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking to trying to figure out, well, how do I help the public? How do I provide information that's helpful? Now, at the same time, as when you're building SEO, when you want AI to identify you, if you think about it, I mean, I write books, I do blogs, I do weekly videos, and you put out all that information, that creates a lot of valuable content. And the content is not, who's got the best barbecue in town. It's, why is electronic control modules important? And what do you need? Why do you need to download those quicker? And so you're providing that type of information. The crash map, which is kind of a logical thing, is that there's a big gap in nationally on how long it takes you to get truck accident information. So it's several years before the federal government can put that information out. And so I started looking at it and saying, well, why? Maybe I could get it quicker. So I actually hired a computer programmer from a Fortune 500 company and said, hey, I've got this idea. I want you to design the software. We'll patent it. And then I want to identify in real time semi-recs, and I want to identify where they're at, what time of the day they are, what day of the week they are. Let's find out information that might be helpful to the public. About, okay, on I-70, there's a lot more wrecks on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I mean, it's just kind of information like that. And like you said, who else has that? And so if I want to build content on that, if I want to post a video on it, if I want to do a blog on it, what does that do for my SEO?
It just
So
yeah, I
I
mean,
you know that.
of course, so as it just absolutely catapults it, right? Is kind of having something unique like that that no one else has on their website, from Google or ChatGPT or Claude, they're going to look at that and say, "Wow, this is a unique spin that we're not seeing anywhere else," and that's going to reward that uniqueness.
And so we try to do that, and the starting point is, would it be helpful? How would it be helpful to the folks, the general public? And I enjoy marketing to the consumer more than I do marketing to other lawyers. I speak at conferences, I do that anyway, but I really enjoy just the average everyday person and giving them information that they just didn't know or they didn't have.
That's so cool. And it's obviously worked for you. But I'm curious, you have a couple of different things, or actually, in my mind, quite a few things going on there, David. And how do you maintain consistency, maybe even consistent voice, right, from the books, the podcast, the videos, and even the website, while still running a multi-state law firm?
Yeah, it gets to be challenging. I mean, you hire people that are consistent with what your mission is, which is making a positive difference in the life of others. And then you hire the right people. I invest in people. I've got 10 attorneys. They were law clerks of mine. And so, I mean, these are people who've been with me for 20, 30 years. And so you kind of have the consistent messaging when you bring people along and bring them up. And a lot of these lawyers, are truck accident attorneys as well, or they have other areas of specialty. Are paralegal. They have paralegals that are board certified. I hired a journalism major. She has a master's degree, and I said I want somebody who can research and write. And what I would like you to do is push out 3, 4 articles a week on substance, on content that really makes a difference, that educates and informs. And I would like you to interview me and talk to me about each one of the topics you pick. And so again, it keeps it consistent. I don't have to write the articles anymore. Back in the old days, I used to write them, but now I just get interviewed with them. I have a video company that's in house, Impact Videos, and they're a separate company, but they actually are in my building as well. And so we shoot regular videos. I do a weekly video series that we put out information on red flags, for example, on one, last year was red flags. This year's the trucking truths. And so we put out information, but I think I, I enjoy that part of it, but finding people who have consistent messaging is important. I'm not going to get along with somebody who's going to put me on a green screen on top of a truck. That's just not going to be my style. You're not going to see me on top of a truck. You might be able to film me under a truck, doing an inspection. But I think finding people who are consistent, who are who will who take your messaging and deliver it in such a way that's powerful.
That's so important. And I want to come back a little bit to kind of you mentioned kind of the board certification there because truck accidents are a totally different beast than car accidents or other moving vehicle accidents there. I know you got federal regulations, black box data, corporate lawyers, and as we've talked about, you are board certified in truck accident law. So, how much of a difference does that particular specialization actually make when you're going up against massive trucking, carrier insurance companies, big corporate out there, whoever it might be?
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, it's extraordinarily different. A truck wreck is not like a car crash. It's not like other personal injury cases. They're a lot more involved. You have to have a certain heightened level of knowledge, I think experience, and then you have to have the resources to be able to battle the trucking company and their insurance carrier. And these folks have lawyers that are on call. And the trucking companies, I've seen the contracts, and I've actually spoke at conferences where the defense lawyers say they have to be at the scene of the wreck within so many hours. So they have a head start. I mean, they are looking to protect their driver and their company's assets. And so you have to have somebody who has the experience, knowledge, and resources to combat that. And the board certification is a good thing because the ABA approves certain groups. Groups then approve you as a board certified lawyer. You have to have a certain number of years of experience. You have to have handled depositions. You have to have handled brief writing. You had to handle trials. On top of that, for a number of years, you have to have other lawyers who vouch for you, both ones that have been against you. Judges have to vouch for you. And then you have to go pass a test. So it's not an easy process, nor should it be. But that is a great way to say, "Oh, I've got one chance. I want to hire the best attorney I can hire. Let's look at a board certification process." And like I said, there's less than 100 in the whole country.
Great. Well, let's look, on the other side of this, we have the generalist litigator. So do you think that great generalist litigator era is over and is deep specialization like yours the only way to really win big in 2026, or is there any kind of room for a generalist litigator anymore?
I think you can I think it depends on where you're at. In Indiana, for example, in some of the rural counties, there's a shortage of attorneys, and they don't have them. And so I think you could go somewhere, and it depends on what your expectations are, what your goals are, but you could go somewhere and hold yourself out as a journalist and say, why is that important? And in some communities, you don't get to somebody like somebody who niches. And so a generalist could be somebody who has really good experience in a broad base of area and knows where to put you, where to send you, where to refer you to, for example. They could then be with you. They could tag team on the type of depending on the type of case it is. So I'm not sure that there's not a need for generalists. I'm not sure that there's not a need for because in the niches will be more of the high end probably. And so I think there is a need for that, but it depends on where you're at and what kind of case it is.
In marketing, we say that and the niches are the riches, right? So that specialization is really important, especially, if you want to grow or scale a lot of times.
Absolutely. And you can niche within a niche. I mean, so there are niches within trucking, for example, that I start seeing some folks do. And I think that's true with every area. So you could niche within a niche and that would even it narrows it even further, and it also gives you a broader base. I mean, as you said, I have lawyers practice licensed in multiple states,
Yeah.
and so trucking is federal motor carrier safety regulations are the big part of it. That's true with every state that you're in. So there's CDL manuals are the same. So you by niching, you can go further and broader and represent folks in different areas of the country.
That's fascinating there. I would love to, before we wrap here, this has been fantastic. Go through your framework based on your decades of experience for any firm looking to lead with authority or any victim really looking for justice when it comes to choosing a truck accident powerhouse, choosing a truck accident represent someone to represent them. So there's 5 steps. So I'll just read them off and then you can add on to them, David. Does that work? All right, so we'll start off number 1, verify specialized certification.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, the specialized if you narrow that, if you had to pick one, that's the most important one.
Awesome, agreed. Number 2, audit the marketing versus reality gap.
Absolutely. I think don't believe what you just see. Go further. Go dig deeper. Looking at and decide, okay, what information is accurate and what do I need to do to verify it?
Yep, absolutely. Number 3, prioritize consumer education.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about today is that you can educate yourself on just about anything and everything. So, although it's never been easier to pick the wrong attorney, it's also never been easier to dig and find the right attorney if you know what you're looking for.
I love how you put that, right? You kind of turn a negative into a positive, right? It's never been easier to find the right one because there's so much education out there. There's no excuse, right, for you to hire the wrong attorney. Number 4, demand immediate investigation.
Yeah, especially in truck accident law. I mean, I have a rapid response team, so I have the people here that as soon as I get the phone call, I put preservation letters out, I freeze evidence, I get restraining orders. I have people out looking for cameras and videos. I have people securing vehicles, putting private investigators outside the vehicles. And so if that's not done immediately, that evidence is lost. And so if it's a truck accident, then you're going to hire somebody who has a team, has the resources, and the experience to know what to do and when to do it.
5, last but not least, evaluate the multi-state capability.
Yeah, I think that I mean, you want somebody who teaches, speaks, writes, and most of those folks are gonna be doing it in a multi-state area because they can, quite frankly. They're people need them, people hire them, and whereas somebody who's just very isolated, they may not have the same level of expertise. I've gone up against most major trucking companies and their insurance carriers. And so that has gives me some, advantage, gives me some strength and power for my clients.
Awesome. Well, I think that was a fantastic list here for everyone. We'll put that into show notes as well. And David, thank you so much for being here today. I think it was super educational and your commitment actually to educating the public, victims out there and holding the trucking industry accountable is really a testament why the human side of law still matters today and why the specialization is so important. And before we wrap, can you share where our listeners can find your books and the semi crash map and how they can connect with you and the team there at Craig, Kelley, and Faultless?
Yeah, I mean, so you can look us up at ckflaw.com. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. Crash Map, semicrashmap.com is where you can look up Indiana version. It's coming throughout the country. We'll put it in every state. But right now it's in Indiana. And my books are available on Amazon. My podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts, and you can watch it on YouTube after the crash.
Amazing. And we'll put all the links in the show notes here for our listeners and viewers at home as well. And if for anyone out there listening, watching, if you're ready to scale smarter, not harder, you can book a free discovery session through our Motion for Marketing system with me. The link's going to be in the show notes as well. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep building a law practice you genuinely love. Cheers, everyone. And thank you so much for being here today, David.
Thanks, Eric.